What's up, guys, and welcome back to White Wolf Friends English. Today we're going to talk about 5 lessons that we learned from our best language tutors.
Yes, so these are going to be true to our experience as tutors, but also as students of other languages. So let's get into it. So number 1 is they should be passionate about the language they're teaching.
Right. It's really hard to learn anything from a teacher who really doesn't care about the topic that they're teaching. So they could be really smart with or really skilled with piano, but if they don't actually like playing piano, that would be a really bad choice to choose as a teacher because they may not want to study or practice more than just the basics.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. So if your tutor is just somebody who just flat out doesn't care about English, or they're just very judgmental about different accents in English, or they just don't seem like they're having fun with the language, then you should probably take that as a red flag.
Right. And also the passion in the language will lead to more knowledge.
Yes.
So like if I really, really like physics, then in my spare time, I will want to study more physics outside of class, outside of pay, and I can actually incorporate that into my physics classes or whatever. The same goes with language. If I'm really interested in language, then I will want to go back into like the history of words or the history of idioms. And in my language classes, I can then incorporate that extra information. And my students may find it interesting, may find it useful as a memory hook, but either way, the teacher, the tutor himself is getting more informed because he is so passionate about the language.
He just enjoys it. And besides, it's more fun to work with somebody who really enjoys what they're doing, right?
Right.
So
it's kind of almost infectious.
Yes.
It's a good thing. It's passionate. It makes me passionate. It's really good for teachers and students to be really passionate about the language.
Number 2 is that they really personally care about their students and how they grow holistically. Not just in the language and just do language and then be done, but they actually just care about the person and they love on their students. If you've been keeping up with their videos, you know that term.
Yeah, a lot of times other parts of the world might see this as a kind of a strange thing since some areas might separate out instruction, teaching, tutoring from life. So I can teach you something, but I don't want that something to bleed into or go into other parts of your life. But honestly, any student could say that they really want their teacher to care about me as a person, not just a person filling a chair, not just a body filling a chair, but it's really nice to hear the teacher say, "Hey, how's your mom? I know I heard from some other students that she's struggling." That means a lot, and it can mean a lot to the student and to the teacher.
Yeah. Besides, if you know you're cared for, then you enjoy your tutor more, right? I mean, we did. That was the case with us. It's just to really get to know each other and as people, not just have like a professional business relationship, but to really care about one another. That's what it's all about. Why go into tutoring if you don't love people?
Yeah, and it's really, really satisfying. And you, as a student, your language becomes more like their language too. It becomes a really good, tight bond, which is a really good thing for language learning in general, but also just learning in general and relationships in general.
Okay, so number 3 is a good one, and this is somebody who's very gracious when you mess up. They don't hang on and say, "Yeah, you mess this up every single time," or something like that. They're not aggressive, and they're not making fun of you when you make mistakes. They're not making you feel bad about making mistakes. With your language tutor, you should have a safe space to mess up because you've got to try and try again in order to get it right. So practice makes better, right? But that doesn't mean it's going to be perfect. You're not going to be speaking like a Native American in 3 months. So your tutor's got to be able to be gracious to you as you make these mistakes.
Right. And this is something that makes tutoring and makes language learning a little different than some other disciplines. So like if I made as many mistakes that I make in Chinese in my math class, I would probably fail that class. But a language teacher understands that part of language learning means making those mistakes.
Absolutely.
And so part of a really, really good language tutor is to be gracious, especially with those really, really embarrassing moments.
And the next thing your tutor needs to be good at doing is listening. And this has multiple facets. This can mean listening to your pronunciation and making sure that it's clear and that you're pronouncing things correctly. But it can also mean spoken grammar and keeping up with that. And those are the technical things. But they should also be able to just listen to you as a person, that they can see your body language and understand what you're trying to say and help you say it more clearly or more like a native speaker. They should be able to actually listen and be interested in you as a person. This also ties back into just caring for you as a person. Right? They should really care, and they should be able to listen to you and your speaking and not just be like, oh, this is the 20th conversation I've had this week about travel, right? You don't want them to be like that. And I mean, from the tutor side, it can be a lot of a hamster wheel and a lot of the same questions, but that's why you ask different questions. You just mix it up a little bit.
Yeah. And also, being good at listening means that the tutor and the teacher can get better. So a lot of times the stuff that we have learned has come from our students.
Yes.
They ask questions and we maybe don't have the answers. And so we look for those answers and we can come back with the answers. And so we, because of our listening, we get smarter and we get better and we get better at teaching. And our students then get better at learning, which is a really, really important skill to develop as a tutor.
And we have a lot more fun with it. All right, so the last one has a lot to do with personality of the tutor. So we all know, by adults, we all know that there's some people we really get along with and some people we really don't. And it's a lot of work and it's very what we call draining in English, where it's just emotionally draining to spend time with people with certain personalities. And it's not that you can't learn from tutors that have a very, I don't mean different, but I definitely mean somebody that if you feel like you want to slap them in the face whenever you talk to them, you probably shouldn't be learning from them as your tutor.
Yeah. It doesn't necessarily mean that your personalities are the same or even that they're opposite. It just means that they have to somehow come together. So if you really, really are not comfortable with a very silly, goofy language teacher, just because that's not your, if it's not your type, maybe you are a nonfiction book kind of person, then you should probably not get a tutor that's going to be super over the top with goofiness and silliness. The point here is to say that you guys need to watch out for that, to say that you need to figure out the personality of the teacher and tutor, and sometimes those personalities just don't fit.
And that's okay. I mean, you wouldn't put somebody with your kids whose personality kind of creeps you out a little bit, right? I mean, you wouldn't put a tutor with your kids to teach them a language or teach them English with somebody that you just don't trust, or maybe their body language is a little off for you and you don't entirely trust them with your kids. And it's the same with you. You shouldn't choose a tutor just because of the dollar amounts that they offer or because they are crazy and super bubbly and everything. That's good to some level if you can take that. Josh mentions me because I'm one of those people that like to have a very business oriented person, very driven person who's very knowledgeable to the point and likes to move on, do something and move on. But that's me. I don't do well with tutors that are super bubbly and crazy. I do, and I don't want to slap them or anything. We have a lot of fun, but I feel like I'm not getting out of it as much that I want. Now, Josh over here is more extroverted than I am, so for him, he's not about to sit down and do a whole bunch of grammar rules unless he absolutely has to. So
that's true.
Yeah, so he will. He is a very bubbly, excited personality, and so he loves it when a tutor is also equally crazy. And they have a fun time, and Josh learns very quickly, but that is his way of learning. Right. Whereas for me, I like to do more of the mechanics and get into the nitty-gritty of the language.
Right.
But you can't do that while, jumping up and down.
Right, so it's the personality of the tutor, but it's also the personality of the student and
Absolutely.
How those play together.
And that's really important to consider when you have kids that you're looking for a tutor for. You need to be looking at your kids, because some people want to get one tutor for all of their kids. And yes, this is efficient in terms of finances, in terms of the time spent looking for the tutors. Yes, it makes sense. However, when you have very different personalities and you have different learning styles, you've got to take that into account, and you need to find a tutor that appropriately matches that. So for you and your spouse, for you and your kids, or each of your kids, you need to make sure you find somebody who's really going to cater to that kid's heart and that kid's learning style, not necessarily just teach the language, because not everybody, it's not a one-size-fits-all teaching method.
Right, and that is why this is a tutoring skill. A teaching skill would be more of figuring out how to create the most colorful or most attractive PowerPoint or whatever. But tutoring is very, very much a personal thing. So you need to have a personal approach. And that's our point. Personal approach with a matching or complementary personality.
Yes. And a lot of tutors have a heart for their students, and they're able to do that. They're able to bend and become flexible. And yes, the first 2, 3, 4 sessions are a little bit awkward, but when they really zero in and they know how you learn and they enjoy you and get to know you some more, the tutoring sessions get to be better and better quality as they go. And that's what you should be looking for in a tutor.
Right. And that's why we did this video today, for you guys to be able to be on the lookout for those good qualities, those good skills, because there are great tutors out there. And we want you to be able to find them easily, quickly, and for them to match you and your family's personality so that you can have better language.
Yes.
And so we made another video previously this week, so go check that one out, of the 5 most costly mistakes that some language tutors make. Yeah. And if you guys have any other skills or characteristics that you think make a good language teacher, put them in the comments below so we can all learn together and have better English together.
Yep. All right. That's it, guys. We'll catch you all on the next one.
Bye.